Good evening and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. Tonight is Tuesday, December 4th. I am Jenny Lee, and tonight I have with me Miss Dana.
Hi, guys.
And Miss Lisa.
Hi, everyone.
And I finally got my Christmas tree up. I've got a whole ornament on it. You see, I got one ball up there. One. Lisa was showing me she's got one ball too, a snowball.
Okay.
Got snowballs.
And a kitty cat. Oh, hi,
snowballs and a kitty cat. Speaking of balls.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
There's going to be a holiday light festival in the town of Huntington with all sorts of lit up balls, apparently.
Lots of balls on the tree.
I wanted to make sure we covered that because last week we went scriptless because we had so many problems trying to get on. You can kind of tell tonight we're a little couple minutes late. Also, Google's definitely having issues.
Definitely. What is up with that?
Did we lose Jenny?
Google just froze her.
Because she's talking
out there because it looks like a lot of fun and it's the first one.
You were frozen.
You were frozen.
Huh?
You were just frozen.
I just froze?
Yeah.
Dang. Let it go.
I just said Google.
Let it go. Let it go. Okay, it was my turn. How about that as far as timing?
Isn't that crazy?
Definitely watching and listening. So there was a town board meeting today.
I'm sorry I missed it, but I will watch it tonight.
Oh, darn. Let's talk about
while I'm making dinner.
Let's just go right into it with the elephant in the room because I can tell by looking at Dana's face that she just doesn't even want to wait for me to segue into. There was breaking news right before we came on a couple hours ago, breaking news about the supervisor of the town of Huntington, Chad Lupinacci, and that there was a civil complaint that was filed in the 3rd District Court accusing him of it sounds like sexual assault on his chief of staff member, Brian Finnegan. And Dana, you were saying that you also caught Brian Finnegan's press release today, that he had a press release. And that's why this all kind of started to flow through the local news cycle so quickly. So, but before we get into any of this right now, this is just an accusation. We're not here to determine anybody's guilt or innocence. We're just here to kind of dissect what we know now and talk about how in shock we all are. It's so different when you hear about like a senator and he's being accused of groping or doing something in regards to that. But the people that are involved, we all know them. We know them personally, and we've known them all for a very long time. It's shocking.
It is. I don't know what to say. I mean, to be serious, I don't know what to say. I mean, a lot I could say, but it's crazy.
It's a touchy subject, and although I'm all for innocent until proven guilty, although I'm all for getting out in the news, it's kind of different when you know the person. I would rather it be held behind closed doors because at the end of the day, if the accusation is accurate, this man runs our town. I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon to bring him down. I may not care for his politics, but I don't want this to be a representation of how he ran. There's just so many other factors that need to be considered. I would prefer to see this behind closed doors.
Well, from what I was reading, hold on, I'm writing down something you just made me remember that you wanted to cover that I didn't write down, the task force. That their attorneys have been in negotiations about a payoff or payment because Brian allegedly, apparently when Chad was an assemblyman, they were staying together in Albany, and it happened on a few different occasions from what is detailed in Newsday, that Brian would wake up in a state of undress and find Chad's hands under his drawers. He felt that he had been performed fellatio on while he was sleeping. I hope that's the right word. I'm trying not to use the bad ones.
I think we got the picture.
And it happened several times, and he told his parents about it. And there was also, he said, from day one when he started, he was starting to ask about his sexual life and habits and stuff. Now, there's always, it's so funny. It's like everybody knows Chad's gay, but nobody talks about it. And when people do say, "Oh my goodness, is Chad gay? I've never seen him with a female partner," people always give you that, that look like, but nobody like talks about it, which I think I had said to you, Dana, I was like, we have a gay Republican, like you would think you would want to throw that out there and be like, yeah, especially under the current level of what people want to say, with diversity and whatnot. So everybody always knew that there were rumors that Chad was a gay man, and I have no problem with no. Who has problems with what people choose to do? But I don't believe that Brian was at all. So these were if true, unwanted advances. He ran out of after a hotel. This is all, I'm just reiterating what's in the story. I'm not saying any of this is true or anything else. I'm just reiterating what was in the Newsday article. And quit and refused to take a promised 6-figure job with the town of Huntington that Chad had promised he would have when he became the supervisor. And the way that they've been giving out these patronage jobs, I can clearly see that. But I don't know, because Brian Finnegan, like, we all know him too, and he's such a credible source. He's like a really credible person, and I'm like so on the fence here because we know everybody involved, like personally.
Well, what I'll say is, I don't think we should say that everyone knew. Well, what I'll say is, I'm not going to say that everyone knew Chad was gay or not gay, because there are a lot of people that didn't know, and people like myself that just, we didn't care.
Right.
But when you carry yourself a certain way, in the assumption that you are the golden child of the party, you're expected to walk a certain line. Now, whether people want to admit that or not, that's the reality. So I don't think that if it came out that he happened to be a homosexual, that would be a big deal. I don't think. But I think because you carried your way in a certain way, that may weigh on other people. And then the fact that Brian has now said that he was promised a 6-figure job when he became town supervisor, that might prompt other things to be looked into, the jobs that he's given out, because were these favors because you've done this before? What exactly took place? And like you said, I would like to believe that the accusations are not true. I was not there. I don't know. But like you just said, we know Brian, and he is a credible source. I can't see a young guy going to expose himself and at something that may be false like this.
Yeah. Of this manner. But also, I mean, with all the media picking up at the same time and having the press release, it gives it the appearance of a hit job.
Oh, we're freezing terribly today. We're freezing horribly. She's saying something that they don't want her to say.
And not a good look either. I should take a picture of that screenshot.
At least we're working out in court and stuff, but
no, we couldn't hear you. We could not hear you.
You were frozen with your mouth wide open like this.
Is she frozen again? I think she's frozen again. Yes.
Yes, she is.
You're frozen again.
I'm still frozen?
Now
you're not frozen.
Jeez. It's Chad. Chad is on my Google button and he's hitting pause when I get to the juicy stuff. No, that's not happening.
But before you're frozen, I thought you said that in the article, which I didn't read yet. I'm just hearing it, now, that this happened to Brian more than one time.
Yeah, that's what the claims are.
That's what I think is just kind of over the top, because if it happened once and you ran out, how yourself
I would have filed a complaint.
How do you put yourself back in that situation? I don't understand.
Right. But you know what? We never know what we're going to do or say until actually faced with that situation.
Yeah, but if you've got some 8-foot man, you know, on me when I wake up, I don't want to put myself in that situation where that could happen again.
I'm speculating, but how do you not know that somebody is performing fellatio on you in your sleep?
Yeah.
Unless there was drinking involved, or which I can see. I mean, all those things are a possibility. Who knows what was the only two people that really know what happened are going to be Brian and Chad. But
if you drink that much, it doesn't work. So that would be kind of difficult.
Not with all men.
No, I guess it depends on what you're drinking.
No, well, it depends on the man. It depends on the man. It depends on the age. Think about that. And it depends on the man. It depends on the age and a lot of other factors.
Well, all I could say is that, you know, there was from what I read, it was the last time that he ran out. But if he's young and upcoming, and Chad was, you know, to him probably was a bit powerful. He's in the state assembly. I don't know if I would go. I don't know if I would go tell that happened, because I have to think about my career. I have to think about, you know, if this is the insinuation that this is another man. There's many factors that may have, you know, prohibit him from coming forward. You know, and he may have just finally said enough is enough.
Yeah, you got to believe the man.
According to what he said, that he was suffering verbal abuse for a very long time.
Yeah, that's also. I mean, we're just focusing on the sexual assault portion of it, which
right.
is the worst part, if true. But there was also other things, verbal assault. Those things, I mean, it paints Chad in a light that.
Yeah, it does. But if you don't have like video evidence, hardcore evidence,
we don't know what he has. But
I know. But I'm just saying, like, for anybody, male or female, to bring that up, anything like that up, no matter who you are.
Well, the article goes on to state that they have, you know, he has that prove the locations, that prove this, as well as he apparently went to his parents and his siblings and had discussions with them over a period of time of this being done to him. But I just can't see, like, somebody wanting to subject themselves to this type of public scrutiny over something that's not true. And then on the other end, I also have, you know, guilty until proven is innocent with Chad. And I'm so torn here that now I'm just like, we really have to withhold judgment until they work this out in court and figure. We may never know. They may have a settlement that gets sealed.
And then you also have to keep in mind that we keep speculating, oh, you know what, Brian was very clear when he said other people knew and they still continue to work for him. If that is true, I mean, some people are willing to lie, but I don't know if they're willing to lie to the point of jail time. I mean, this is not, you know.
Did he mention their names to anybody?
He wouldn't mention his name because it's in a lawsuit. So he's going to be very careful. If he's smart and he has good legal counsel, he's going to be very careful of what he gets out. But he didn't say who did what. But he was clear when he said that other people knew that were working for him. So
that's really crazy. It's really a shame.
Then that would be a conspiracy to cover up the crime of somebody that they knew was perpetuating sexual assault. And has this been a pattern? And like you alluded to earlier, Dana, then do they use these appointments as a way to shut them up? As a way to keep
and now we're gonna, you know, with this new Me Too movement, there's gonna be a lot of questions. You know, a lot of questions, and people are not gonna just take it as, oh, it's just someone saying something. So I really hope that everything is done in a decent way. That's all that I can say. As decent as it could be.
It won't be, because if you go look on our favorite local where we love to just tear each other apart and page, Huntington Matters Community Forum, a person who tried to run for office at one point but couldn't even get enough signatures, Andrew Marola, is already calling for him to, just based on the allegations, to step down until we know, which is, that's ludicrous to me. It's
good for Andrew.
You may never know. You may never know, but it doesn't mean.
It may seem ludicrous, but in today's climate, with that Me Too movement, if you follow the pattern, that's what's being done. Whether it's criminal, whether it's civil, whether it's founded, whether it's unfounded, in the meantime, they are calling for people's resignation just because of the climate that we're in. That's a reality.
Until Chad is proven guilty or not guilty, he doesn't have to step down, right?
Well, not for nothing. The only two people involved in this are Chad and
Brian.
This is they're handling it like it, well,
and because of the news now, the entire town.
Right.
Exactly.
And now this is where the dirty laundry is gonna, and you know what? Now we're part of it when I think about it, because now we're taking that dirty laundry and we're refolding it here on the show. But this is what we're talking about. This is what we're doing. But we are trying to make sure that we keep it balanced. And
we're not accusing. I mean, we throw a little joke in there too, but I mean, what are you supposed to say? It's really horrible.
You know how many people have known Chad his whole life, and there's never been an incident of impropriety ever in this town? I mean, he's a staple.
I know. I've known him my whole life, and I'm an alumni of Whitman, and I'm kind of upset that maybe I won't get a chance to get that job now, but I was hoping for it.
At least he was going to go down to the town board meeting and say, you know, I went to Whitman too. Where's my job? I've known you forever, Chad.
I need a second job. Come on.
Did Elliot Leonardo, his best friend, get another job? We'll swing back to that because there's just so much. Dina, you finish your thought there. I'm sorry.
Well, we're saying that these things have never come up before, and this is, I'm wondering if some of these things, now let's keep in mind, we keep referring back to Chad being very clean. So I'm wondering if people just were afraid to come forward.
Can you repeat that last part? You just froze. I apologize.
I think, did I freeze or you froze? Because I could. Okay, so were people afraid of coming forward because he does have a squeaky clean image? Were people afraid of people judging their credibility, or there's so many other avenues now that we have to consider? So it's not that people didn't come forward, but were they afraid? You know. He was on the school board. He was a state assembly. You know, he's well renowned. He's a professor. There's so many factors. And then we've all witnessed firsthand, somebody says something and then it's the domino effect. Yeah. And then you ask, why didn't you say anything? And then they give you the stories as to why. If you're my professor and you hold in my hand that A or that F, I don't know if I'm going to be that bold to go against you and you can give me the F.
It's just true. There's definitely got to be a fear factor because of the position that Chad was in of authority over. And think about it. I'm gonna say something. Meanwhile, my whole life and career revolves around being chief of staff, literally.
So and I forgot Brian had somebody like in the White House. I forgot what else it was. So it really is. It's what he said versus what he said at this point. Again, I wish they would have just kept it, as quiet as possible.
Somebody wanted this very public,
right? And that's when it gets ugly, because now you're gonna have people questioning him just based off those type of activities, even if he wasn't engaged in them. The fact that you are being questioned about them from a credible source that many people believe to be credible, that in itself is damaging.
Right.
I mean, you don't want people on you when you're sleeping like, hey, can I get a little touch? No, you can't. It's inappropriate.
There's so many questions and there's so much stuff that has to come out. But all the Facebook police are already already made their minds up.
Oh, judge and jury's out. That's it. He needs to step down until we know. That's the stance that's being taken. I mean, there's a lot of people that are defending Chad because so many people have known him their whole lives, but on the other end, there's a lot of people that know Brian too, and like you said, Dina, this whole Me Too movement now,
and those two were. Let's keep in mind those
they were very
like
close.
You didn't see one without the other,
right?
Ever. So it's really hard to.
Well, he's got a few friends like that, like Elliot and the town attorney. They're best buds too. Sorry. I mean, buddies. They're best buddies.
Lord, so, take the wheel, Jesus. Please.
No, best buddies. Oh my God.
You were saying best buddies is the thing. I mean, it is. That's the description that we say. Some people will say we're best buddies. You're not really implying anything, but the pun is there now. I don't think people aren't saying this in inboxes privately with each other right now. There's a lot of flutter about this in this town. We just have the Christmas balls to come here and say it.
Exactly. But what I was saying is, before I got tongue-tied, without that hard evidence from, no pun intended, without that evidence from Brian, anybody can ask and say anything. I mean, there's a lot of what if they had a falling out? What if they were both enjoying it? And what if somebody had a fight with the other one and now it's all coming out? I mean, there's just so many things to say. It's like, get the evidence out and stop dilly-dallying, because now you have open control to all these things.
Lisa, you got all the puns tonight. I'm shocked you haven't gone anywhere with chief of staff yet. Goodness.
No, not yet.
All right.
But as we saw in the Kavanaugh case, you don't really need, certain things to go forward. So we have to be honest here, okay? And
well, this is the stuff that's going to get everybody's reaction, and then no matter what comes after, whoever's cleared, whoever's not cleared, or if the case is settled and it's never spoken about again, the damage is done.
I know, because you didn't have the evidence first. Bring out this excuse me, half-ass story, and it really is just that. It's a half-ass story without the evidence. You should bring the evidence first, or no evidence, and then let it go.
Somebody wanted this out there from the data that it was filed. This was done, and it was somebody informed the media that there was going to be the press release. So you could chop this many ways. Either Brian's telling the truth and he has a legitimate case and he's got all sorts of stuff there, okay? Or somebody put Brian up to it to take out one of the political figures with the new Me Too movement. Who knows, right? Could be done. It's a possibility. Who knows? Yeah, knowing what I know, I don't believe that to be so. But when it comes to these kinds of things, people could getting money. They could be getting favors. But it's clearly was being negotiated, as it said in the article, for a while between the attorneys before the complaint was made.
It was said in the press conference. The attorney said we were going back and forth. It's no secret. We tried to keep it as under wraps as possible. So now my question is, if you're my town supervisor and you know this is going on, what type of legal team do you have that you wouldn't do whatever it is you needed to do so that something like this wouldn't be exposed? Because now not only do we question you as your personal business, but now I'm questioning what else do you do for the town? What kind of legal defense do you have that advise you to keep going back and forth? If something's not true, I'm not going back and forth with you. It's not true. Come out, say what you have to say. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking.
I also how long behind closed doors? You said like over a year?
They've been going back and forth. He didn't give a specific time, but he said back and forth. And he said this is nothing new. It was no secret, he said. And that's what the attorney said at the press conference. So I don't know. Did we lose Jenny again?
No, not at all. I wasn't frozen. No, I'm sorry.
Let me ask one more question.
So,
and this is just a hypothetical. Oh,
go ahead, Dana.
Go ahead.
So these are just some of the things that people now are going to question.
Okay, back to
a lot of people are going to question.
Of course, it's so public now. I mean, this is the definition of airing our dirty laundry in this town. Go ahead, Lisa.
So my question is just hypothetically obvious, to Andrew Marola's, little movement now, and the movement of Chad. Just say Chad steps down. What happens? Do you have a quick election? How does it
No,
work?
no.
I think Pat Delco.
deputy-
Pat Delco?
Huh?
Pat Delco steps in.
Pat Delcole would then become the supervisor of the town of Huntington. Meanwhile, she already is, pretty much. She's been running things for years. She just has the people. Why would they keep on Pat Delcole? She was Frank's deputy.
Yeah, you know what? But that's what I said at first. But considering that Chad was not, the supervisor did not have the information, his resume didn't qualify him to run a town. He needed to keep someone like a Pat Delco, because who else was going to advise him?
Right.
It's not like going to Albany and being in the minority is one thing, but coming to a town when you're responsible for everything is something totally different. He needed to keep her.
But if you get elected and you know that if anything happens to me, I suffer from a car accident and I pass away or anything else, you know you're handing the power to the next party.
Cole is a Republican, isn't she?
No, is she? I thought she was a Democrat. She was with Frank forever.
But remember, Frank was a Republican too.
I don't think Chad is anymore.
He was a Republican.
He was a Republican.
Right.
Isn't Pat Delco Republican?
That was my first thought today. When I heard about this, I said, I knew he was gay. I knew he was a Democrat. Think about it. The Republicans aren't typically known for, even though there are, but it's just not the party of the LGBTQ movement or anything. So,
No, they're not.
So, all right.
Well,
Let me get back to, yeah, I think it's pretty absurd that they're calling for him to step down. And of course, they're being nothing but mean and as usual. Where is this one? This one, I know that we wanted to cover this one. The Huntington Town broker appointed to assessment board. A real estate broker was appointed to the Huntington Board of Assessment Review. Although one council member criticized the appointment as lacking transparency, town supervisor Chad Lupinacci and board members Ed Smith and Eugene Cook at the November 20th town board meeting approved a resolution to appoint Elliot Leonardo to the assessment review board. Now, this is not his first, okay, or not his first appointment. Joan Sergel abstained from the vote, saying she was concerned the appointment lacks transparency, even though she did not find fault with him personally. I don't either, but I rarely agree with her. I totally agree with her and Cuthbertson on this. Maybe I'm becoming a Democrat. She said, I wasn't part of the process to select him. I was given the resume of one person to vote on, Cuthbertson said. But just to get further down here, she noted the position comes with a $9,000 stipend, and that stipend alone is an argument to opening applications. She said people should be made aware of this opportunity. So there was no one else that was given to them, and it comes with money, which then comes with, and this isn't his first appointment. He's been appointed to a few things now at this point, including the affordable housing trust board thing, the affordable housing, you know what I mean.
And what does he know about affordable housing?
He sells high-end real estate.
Exactly. And he believes, and he's a firm believer in Trump. What does he know about affordable housing? You've never heard Trump talk about affordable housing. Let's be honest. So why would
I'm a firm, I support Trump, but I know all about affordable housing and the HUD standards and how they
you may be a Trump supporter, but you've also stated how you've lived once before. You can identify. So it's not all about being a Trump supporter and just because you're a Trump supporter. You've been a Trump supporter, but you've also stated, I know the highs and lows. You ever heard him say that?
I've lived in poverty. There's
exactly. So that's different. You can't be in high-end real estate and go off the flyer with your statements and then talk about, about affordable housing. What? In what world?
Well, he came from the slums of Huntington in the North Shore of the most elite real estate in the entire country. He totally knows what it's like to live in a trailer park like I did.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you know, to me, I have a problem with when you can't be true to who you are.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to represent. You could vote for Donald Duck if you wanted to, but then don't go around talking about things that you know you have nothing to do with.
I thought Hector Gavilia was a good appointment for that. He has a little bit more knowledge than I would say Elliott, especially since at least he's a minority, and the chances of a minority being in needing the affordable housing in this particular demographic in this town are more likely. I didn't get it. I didn't think it was relatable at all. And the problem I have with it is everybody knows that Elliott is Chad's best friend. They know they're like the three of them. Proclamation for your birthday.
You got this and that, and you got him up here, and you're sitting in it. Give me a break.
You're throwing it in the people's face about,
and you don't care. You're basking in his glory. You're basking in his accomplishments, and he's allowing you to. And that's where the problem comes in.
It's a shame because we all like Chad, but dang it, he's not. It's just really disappointing when you see somebody who you really just have a lot of respect for, and
I think that's the worst. You hit it right there when you said that. That's the worst. When you had a lot of respect and you like someone,
and you turned out to you're doing the same crap that you were complaining about that the other party did, and you're blatant about it. You're blatant about it. Like, the least you could have done was abstained from the vote. No,
right?
You should have. As a matter of fact, you should have. It's a huge conflict of interest. It's a huge conflict that you didn't.
And then you have the people, Mark and Joan, we know they're not going to go or Joan abstained because they're the Democrat. But then you have people like Gene and Smith. Now, if either one of them run for anything, I'm going to have a big problem with that. And I will definitely be vocal because you just go along to get along because you're putting the people up there too, because you've now okayed all of these things. So that makes me question.
But that's when they sit in that pre-whatever, that's when they negotiate. I'm going to vote for this for you of your resolution. Right. But so they're kind of saying, I'm willing to put my integrity here on the table as long as you're willing to vote for my resolution. And that is politics. And that's what makes politics so disgusting. But that's the game that's set up for them to play. So I kind of understand what it is that they're doing. My whole issue is with Chad, because he's the hypocrite. He's the one who's not recusing himself from a vote on his best friend several times in a row. And you wonder why people who were supporting you before are taking issue. I'm supporting you as a human being where I'm saying this has to play out in court, the other issue. And you have your day in court, and so does Brian. But when it comes to these appointments, these are blatant, and you're really voting these ways. And Elliott Lenardo really is your best friend. And it's icky. It's so icky.
And you keep doing it. And even if it's not on your page, it's on his page. And he blasted everywhere. I don't need to know that you gave your friend a proclamation because he turned 40. How many people in this town turned 40, 50, 60, 10, 20, whatever? Did they get proclamations? Did the supervisor show up at their? No. So where's your discretion? Even if you do it, where is your discretion? And that's the problem. And although it may not be the supervisor doing it, it's your best friend. You should have said, stop, knock it off, because in the event that I want to promote you to something or put you to something, I don't need this coming back.
As your friend, Dana, if you were ever to get elected to office, I would not expect a job out of you. I would expect to support you in the background in those moments that you needed to be advised or think things through out loud. I would never think that I would ever put you in a position of having to do me a favor. There are over 220,000 people in this town. We see the same 50 to 100 usual suspects that are involved in politics getting jobs. You're going to tell me that there's not other qualified people that won't make you look bad, that can still run our town really great? I get the trust factor and that whole thing, but don't you think you're also going to get more trust from somebody who isn't already on a team? You know,
And
look at
this
this.
is
Brian was on your team.
this is a real slippery slope because we don't know how much information Brian actually has. And we don't know who else he's talking to. So all these things, in my mind, as a supervisor, even if it was or wasn't true, I'm not here, I don't know all the facts. But even if it was true, you don't think you should have thought about these things before you allowed it to reach this level? That makes me question your judgment on many levels.
And you know, there was an IT job that was removed. And we got
rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we had to get rid of that position because, you know, we're cutting back.
Didn't fit the budget.
Today at the town board meeting today, the director was he retired, and they hired another deputy director to come in, who will definitely
again.
And that was all just to get rid of the person who was originally, I believe that was all done to shut down the Huntingtonian. Because
and then again, that makes me question the people who were involved in that.
Yeah.
Now, these are people that I had great respect for, that I've gone to bat for. But when I find out these things and you're sitting in the same position, and I know for a fact the relationship and what was done to bring that person up, and you couldn't even give them a hey BTW, and then you go and you're supposed to be abstaining from everything because you're just so angry, but you sit there and you okay the next person.
Right.
What?
Right. And it wasn't that long ago. And the thing that made it for me was before this person, who I'm just not going to say his name. We all know who we're talking about.
Right.
We talk about the editor of the Huntingtonian. Okay. He was offered the job with the staff to be the IT director. He, as part of that, if you go back and look at the town board meetings when he was appointed, the reason he was delayed, and there was such a delay, and Mark Cuthbertson at the time made a big deal about it, saying that he was under ethics review. He was under ethics review because he had to sign that he was getting rid of the Huntingtonian before he was allowed to work there. That was all done to shut down a local news source because they didn't want it to be used against them. Because as soon as they thought they were in the clear, they used a BS excuse that we needed to access this position. And now here we are, not even 2 months later, 3 months later. And we're now, now the guy that said he should be fired is retiring. And they're hiring a new person for the position that he was accessed for.
And yeah, that had to be voted on. And which that again, it's just too many gray areas for me. Too many gray areas. And if that person considered you to be a friend, and you did that to a friend,
yes,
what are you going to do to someone like
me? He was loyal to them. He was a friend.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do to people like me in the town that may not go along? If you do that to a friend, I would hate to see what you do to an enemy,
or somebody close enough to consider your chief of staff and have that intimate of a position with you.
I just, that makes me question a lot of things. And for me to go out for bat for you on many occasions, that won't happen. And quite honestly, when you go out for re-election or whatever it is you plan to do, I'll be on the opposite side.
Yeah, I think with all
I'm going to keep that.
He's going to
that was personal. That was personal for me. And I happen to like the guy a lot. And I have a lot of respect for him because he's a stand-up guy.
He's my cheese.
And he rerouted his entire life.
Yep.
As a favor.
He already moved. Already sold his house.
Already settled.
Yeah. He changed everything to come back here for them. And their goal wasn't because he was loyal and they were appointing somebody that they thought could really do the job. That was done to shut him up. It was done to shut him up and shut him down.
So you used our friendship to follow your political career, I'm not doing that. No way. Because if you do that to your friend, I know you don't care about what I'm coming with.
So you mean Chad basically spit him out?
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a spit, not a.
Yeah.
So
Disgusting.
I don't. Well, since we're talking about the town, can we please segue into that anti-bias task force?
Yeah. No, that was the one I wrote down for you.
Yes,
so there was a town board meeting. We covered that. Don't let us forget to circle back to the LIPA, because I want to make sure we just get that at least on for tomorrow with that. There was a lot of talk about 5G, but there was also a lot of talk about the anti-bias task force. Take it, Dana.
Now, here's where I have the issue. If you go on to Suffolk County Minority Affairs, they have a Muslim task force, they have an African American task force, they have a Latino task force, they have an Asian task force. It represents a little bit of everyone in their own right. Why is it that Huntington has a Latino task force when, if you look at the demographics of Huntington, it is still predominantly Caucasian? Then the next one right under it is Latino. And who's in the minority?
No, not in my district. Now I'm a minority in my school district.
About Huntington as a whole.
Oh, okay.
Right. So all of us, Caucasians are still very much in the majority. But then again, if you want to talk about the anti-bias, how do you have a task force set aside for one particular ethnic group? So is it only Latinos that need protection? Or is it that only Latinos receive bias counts against them? Is that what we're saying? That doesn't make me feel comfortable at all.
What about a Trump supporters task force?
Okay, gotta go.
We need support. Do you see them after us?
No. Did not get me caught up in that.
I'm totally a minority in the town. I know that my diversity of thought is not thoroughly accepted, and I'm okay with that. No. But I get what you're saying. And I posted an article that was done by the Huntingtonian last year. It was really weird because I had forgotten about this article, but I got a notification update from Ellie, who was she was at the town board meeting. I saw her in the audience when I was watching it today. She liked this post from like a year ago and a comment I had written about diversity of thought. And it was being put forth by Tracy Edwards that we needed to revamp the anti-bias task force. There was so many people that were talking about that today. I will say today's town board meeting was a quickie. It's worth going back and reviewing. There's a real funny part when Daniel Carpin gets up to talk to Chad, and he just has this really funny back and forth with him. It's about 32 minutes in. That was super funny. But the task force was that, and 5G were the two big deals that everybody was talking about at the public portion.
Wow. And that's another thing, you know, even some of the town council people who I support and I like, and I think have good intentions, they're going along with it. They'll be put in the same category as everyone else, because unless you're a Mark Cuperson and stand out completely and say, listen, I'm not down for that, in my opinion, you're just as guilty as everyone else, you know, and that includes Joan as well, because she's in there and everybody knows I supported her. Everyone knows that I love her. But if you go along with something like that, you'll be on the opposite side this time, because you cannot tell me that a council that has already appeared biased, okay, if this recent scandal isn't enough because it tells you you're promised certain jobs, and you want me to believe that you are going to appoint people that aren't biased, or that can give you people that can point out other people that aren't biased? Are you crazy?
And first of all, who's making the rules for what they consider bias? Because that's
the
whole new spectrum of.
That's the first thing.
Holy smolies. And what are they going to do? Like, are they going to come after me for my First Amendment because they considered something I said to be biased against some sort of protected race or gender? It's too icky for me. But I just want to show you the dates. Can I just highlight the dates here with this? Because this is what I found. bothersome. Can you see that? The
Yep.
Huntington, this is from, so the Huntington Town Board at its October 17th, 2017 meeting, over a year, it's been 14 months, will consider a proposal to revitalize and restructure the town's anti-bias task force. Now, that's from
over a year ago.
And it's the same newspaper they were trying to shut down. I just need to point that out. Because I'm still burnt over what they did today.
That's interesting.
Yes.
And they had the blueprint. If you read the article, former Councilwoman Edwards had given them the blueprint. They did all the research. It was composed of many different people, and all they had to do was say, okay. No, but they couldn't do that. They wanted to come in and do it this way, which is crazy. You wanted me to think 5 people that you pick? Maybe one or two I might consider, but 5 of you? No. And you had a blueprint to follow. She wrote everything out for you. All you had to do is maybe make your little minor adjustments or make whatever you needed to do, but it was laid out. I don't know. Not comfortable at all.
Well, I do want to say that if anybody wants to go back to the town board meeting, and the one back and forth that I would recommend that they go listen to, I could not believe how absolutely civilly they were able to argue and disagree with each other today. And Joan Sturgill, please make me, I hate that I'm agreeing with you on so many things. So please stop this. I don't like this trend. But I completely agreed with the stance that she took on the LIPA issue. So Jean presented this resolution, which did pass. They are going to do it, to look into the viability of the town taking and operating the LIPA plant, which we've reviewed. I forgot to go back and get the episode number because we did a full episode on this at one point. I believe if you go and look at our YouTube channel, it's the one with the LIPA smoke stacks, and you'll see that we reviewed the whole plant there, and we had also kind of eclipsed into it when we were doing the, who was that?
Indian Hills.
Yeah, Fort Slonga, Indian Hills.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we had covered that extensively when it was coming about how it's not just the LIPA power plant. It's actually the internal tunnel hub of a fiber optic cable that can power the entire East Coast. And it would be a huge thing if we were able to actually make this vision come true of what he sees could come from this. So I agree that they do need to look into it as a study. But Mark, he voted no, stating that it was nothing but grandstanding, and there was, all Jean had to do was go to the attorney's office and ask them to look into it. So who knows what's going on with that. I think that we could really benefit from it if that was, and we should study it. And we should study the 5G. Holy smokes. The more I'm learning about 5G, the more I'm worried.
Just start reading about it. It's really scary. Scary stuff.
Too much.
It really is scary stuff.
It's too much.
Matt Harris spoke out on record about it today, and he was saying, well, I remember when the microwave was invented, and unless you shove your whole head in there and hit the one button, you're going to be fine. It's something to that effect. Like, you really have to be like hugging and it's just, I'm sorry.
Tell that to all the birds that were just falling out of the sky dead with their 5G, where they were doing it over some other country.
Yeah,
birds are just falling out of the sky. So don't tell me to stick your head in a microwave.
You've got federal representatives in Congress that are saying that this needs to be studied more. You have the European Union that is saying, no. We saw a huge increase in laboratory rats and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, hell no.
I'm sorry. So just because you were a ham operator and you had, experience, you haven't conducted a study on what this is going to do to literally double this. And his excuse is because of the wireless technology movement. So your wireless technology is more important than brain cancer? For everybody? utero and no. Study this. Study it first.
I can't.
And all our children have these devices. I'm willing to wager that 80% of the households in just our town alone, their children have not just one, but more than one. They've probably got 15, 16 wireless devices in their home. If they have the Alexa, if they have this, and who sleeps with their phone? Right next to their bed. And where do you put it? Right next to your brain. Oh, and me, I put it right next, when I hide it, it's right next to my breast cancer area. So think about what we're doing.
Like
Just
I said last week,
study it.
get yourself a Geiger counter and look at the radiation already in your home before this 5G hits us.
No,
You know how many
that I
people
wouldn't-
don't
I
want to
wouldn't do
know?
that.
I would be
I
petrified.
would, because I would be like, I'd be one of those people that go off the grid if I did that, because I know my radar would be like.
You couldn't handle off the grid. You don't like chipmunks. Mm-mm. I've seen you in the woods.
You're right. I got to take that back. I don't know, but I wouldn't. I don't know what I would do. You're right. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, you can't handle nature.
I would go crazy. And I'm honestly, all jokes aside, I'm scared because I thought about what Lisa said the other day, and I was like, maybe we should. I was like, oh hell no, I wouldn't want to do anything. I'm like, don't touch that, don't do that, don't.
You know, the craziest thing I saw this week, you know, random stuff shows up in your newsfeed, and water's always been an issue with us. But do you know how the water is treated in El Paso?
No.
So a long time ago, they had this issue with water shortages in El Paso because people wanted to water their lawns. And they passed an ordinance that they wanted people to change their landscaping and change it to requiring it to be a more desert field, no more lawns because of the water shortages. So they now drink their treated sewage water, and it's used for everything. And you got to see these treatment plants that they use. It's completely insane. But I don't think what they're realizing is like, okay, yeah, it's water. And how many times have we done a show on, and I said, if they're not willing to drink the water off the spigot, then it's not clean enough to be putting in our bays. They show this whole process in El Paso of how the sewage goes into this thing and gets treated. And they show the guy saying, yep, tastes just like water, right off the little spigot thing. And I was like, oh, this is where we're headed when the water wars come.
Oh my God.
I'm not feeling that.
You could be drinking your own caca water.
Yeah, I think I'd be using Cactus. They have water.
Instead of drinking your tea, you'd be drinking your pee.
So me and Dana gonna be doing the tequila.
Yeah. Psychologically, that would mess with me. I couldn't do that.
I only drink the seltzered water now. I just won't drink it off the tap. And is there times when you go in the shower and the water doesn't feel right?
There's times that
my water never tastes right.
No, I'm talking about when you're in the shower and it doesn't feel right on your skin. Do you ever
get teeth in the shower? Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it's like I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's getting the soap off, or I don't know.
It just feels weird. All right, so it's reached that time in the evening.
Shut up! It has.
I know, we went on and on and on. I think we were all in such a state of shock. We had a game plan of, okay, we're going to do our show on Tuesday instead. We're going to talk about the town board meeting, and then the caca hit the fan. And with Chad, I mean, might as well put it out there. We already did. Oh, so I just want to let everybody know our schedule. We're going to probably take about 2-3 weeks off for the holidays from the period of Christmas right into New Year's. Then we'll be back in the new year with our new fresh season. But we will be coming to you on Tuesdays for the next 2 weeks for the month of December. Yes, and hopefully I will get all my balls on my tree before next Tuesday. Lisa too. She's got one snowball.
I'm going to finish mine tonight.
Oh boy.
So does anybody have any final thoughts?
No.
I'm quiet tonight. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm checked out at this point. My goodness.
Chat it out. Chat it out. Get it?
Goodness. I think it's kind of cute though that you do have a snowball and it's the only one on there. I love my tree. So, guess what I get to say tonight?
What?
We will see everyone next Tuesday. I love that we're back to Tuesdays.
Yes.
Yay. Okay, so we hope everyone enjoyed tonight's Huntington View. See you next Tuesday and have a good evening, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, goodbye.